Good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Smith from Smith in the Black, VTF here at T3Live.com with the morning call here, and it's bright and early. Let's take a look at here. I got the SPY pulled up for you, and one of the interesting things you can notice is we had that expansion in volatility, and if you look at this SPY here, this has been really good for day trading. As you can see there, what we like is not a lot of shadows or wicks, and you can see recently straight down, straight up, straight up, straight down, straight down, straight down, and a little bit of wicks in here, but for the most part, very clean moves. So as far as for day trading is concerned, it's been excellent as opposed to, you remember this nightmare of, especially if you're trading the futures, going on the march up, which is doji, 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 doji. Now we're getting a lot of clean moves, which means a lot of good follow through during the day. And so our friends in Washington are at least doing that for us. And as we still await any resolution there. But for right now, for today, you can see we come back up into the middle of this range. And so after expansion and volatility, SPY right now is down about 29 cents, looking 168.88. So a little quiet, which wouldn't be out of the ordinary for after a slam banger week up and down like we've seen, especially with news pending. So one of the things I wanted to start out with today was one of the things I noticed on the VTF yesterday is the market started to gap up and take off here. Not everybody's prepared for a gap and go type of strategy, and so I want to just point out a few things that can make things a little bit easier if you're not comfortable doing that. Because what oftentimes will happen if we take a look at a shorter term chart and you get a gap up like this and you see it start moving, people are like, oh, I don't want to chase it, and they see it and they, okay, well, what I'll do is get a tight stop, and they get chewed up in here and here. And so one of the ways you can make it a lot simpler on yourself is just what we talk about a lot of watching relative performance, relative strength, and weakness versus the market. And so as the market here opened and started to run yesterday, instead of chasing here, the first thing that I'll do is I'll look for stocks that are going down. And so yesterday, right out the chute, we're looking at Limited here, and you can see Limited Brands is getting pummeled right out the chute, SHLD here. And so this can make it a lot easier because basically you always want to think about the guys on the other sides of the trade. And so in these cases, when you see the market screaming straight up like this, and your stock starts to take out the lows of the previous day, you can't stay long. We know that. And so you want to look for that relative performance and try and get there on the short side. I also know everybody's not totally comfortable with the short side, but it's part of our job. And another way that you can do this here, if we pull that SPY up, and if you see this 15er here, real strength into here, where some people might call that an igniting bar, where it just takes off. So it's apparent at this point in the first 15 minutes we're not looking at a gap and reverse. This is a gap and go, and then it's going to sit up in here. So another strategy you can consider here, instead of trying to buy it and chase it up, is to sell puts. Because you're on a Thursday, you're running out of time, you only got a day left on those weeklies. And so what that enables you to do is let that time decay while it sits up in here and seemingly does nothing. And if you try and chase it, you might get chewed up in here. If you sell the puts down in here, all this time works on your side, and any other up move, where you might get chopped up trying to, pick something in here, that that time decay works in your favor. So that said, to start off today, we've got earnings from JP Morgan. And JP Morgan comes up here, and JP Morgan here right now is looking about 53. It got up almost as high as 54, so it's right into here, but it did trade up right up and around in here. You can see this range that JP Morgan has been in, holding fairly well. I believe we got Wells Fargo coming up, but I haven't seen anything from there. You can see that rallied back a little bit. But another one of the names that people have been watching for a while, simply since it went into the Dow, is Goldman Sachs. And so Goldman Sachs, interesting chart here, as you can see this very orderly support level here, comes right to it and pops up. And so I'm going to keep an eye on this with the financials today. Obviously that JP Morgan, like I said, 53 should be in play. But when you look at this Goldman Sachs chart, as much as some people might have said, oh, it's so volatile this week and I know what's going on, it's like if you just take a step back and sometimes look at the bigger picture, you can see this very orderly sell-off right to this uptrend line. And if we go to the Dow Jones itself, you can see this line too, right here. right there, and right to here. So, still fairly orderly of a sell-off. Bring it right back down, and now rip it back up. So the problem for today is that we're coming back up into the middle of the range on a Friday, right in here. So, obviously, we're probably not going to take out these lows or those highs today, and we're coming back into this range with Friday and news pending out of Washington and more earnings coming up next week. So we might get ourselves a quiet day. Right now, the S&P is just down, the SPDR's just down about 27 cents. So another one of the things that I'll be doing, like I do every day, is we want to try and gauge any obvious weakness and strength from yesterday or recently. And so if we look at strength, we notice stuff like EOG going toward the highs, never really could get hit when the market was coming down. If you look at ConocoPhillips here, Conoco and the oil still hanging well, SM Energy, so a lot of these energy names still hanging near the highs. And then if we look at some of the weakness we saw yesterday, recently, INFI, you can see stuff like this that's really having all sorts of problems, OVTI. Once again, they may continue, they may not, but certainly right out the chute, we want to look at stuff like this. Riverbed, all sorts of problems, and BERY, I hate you very much. So right out the chute, that's what we're looking at. But for the most part, maybe after all this volatility during the week, that we get something quiet here. Once again, financials in play. We can take a look at the FAS. And you see, once again, just the FAS coming back into the middle of this range. So it might be stock specific. Of course, it's Friday, so we're going to be looking at anything trading around strike prices for pins, or hopefully some nice moves that we can get later if we can get that volatility to perk up. And one little reminder here, too, is like when some people get shaken up and say, oh, it's moving too much, this market's crazy. If you look at the monthly chart, that the S&P still didn't even come close to taking out last month's lows. And so all this hubbub, it may just be about nothing. Once again, orderly uptrend in the S&P, held very nicely there. If you go to the weekly, still too strong to even make a lower low out of that so far, but obviously a lot of news coming out of Washington. We've got earnings season coming up, and so that's going to do it for this morning. I'll be back this afternoon with the week's market wrap-up here for T3Live.com. I'm Rob Smith, and I'll see you this afternoon. Good trading, everybody.
I'm Evan Lazarus, Chief Knowledge Officer for T3Live.com. You don't become a great trader by watching videos and taking courses. You become a great trader through live screen time. Accelerate that learning curve by tapping into the experience of seasoned professionals. Currently, we're offering 5-day free trials to each of our 4 mentoring rooms. In the mentoring rooms, we teach our strategies in the context of the live market. To sign up for a free trial, go to the T3 Live education page, fill out the form, and get started when the next trading session begins. We hope to see you in one of our mentoring rooms.